You walk down the narrow, unlit alleyway behind the 24-hour convenience store. The ground beneath your boots slick with grease, stagnant puddles, and the rotting runoff of industrial dumpsters. The air smells of wet cardboard, sour alcohol, and the heavy exhaust of a delivery van idling somewhere in the dark. At the edge of the light, 3 local drunks are huddled over a broken crate, their bodies draped in dirty, oversized jackets, their faces obscured by the thick grey shadow. They are the permanent fixtures of this corner, the bottom-tier background extras of your neighborhood, units whose only script is to consume cheap spirits and emit low, unintelligible grunts as you pass by. You turn your head for a fraction of a second to check your phone. When you look back, the alley is completely empty. There are no footsteps echoing off the concrete walls. There is no door that opened or closed. The 3 men didn't run. Their physical models simply vanished from the coordinates because the system unspawned them the moment your line of sight broke, optimizing the server's local memory allocation by deleting the non-essential traffic. You step deeper into the dark zone, your heart hammering against your ribs as your primal grounding mechanisms sound the alarm. This is the disturbed reality of the missing NPCs. The system is running dangerously low on processing power, and it is aggressively pruning the excess meatware scripts from the grid. You walk to the local tram stop, where a crowd of 20 identical grey-faced commuters usually stands at this hour, waiting to be transported back to their concrete sleeping cells. Tonight, there is only one person, a woman in a faded blue coat, staring straight ahead into the foggy street. You watch her from 10 yards away. She takes 2 steps forward, crosses an invisible boundary line on the pavement, and instantly blinks out of existence, her model dissolving into a microsecond of static before the air seals shut behind her. The server didn't even bother to render a departure animation. It is deleting whole groups of the mass population in plain sight because the simulation can no longer maintain the illusion of a populated world while your central nervous system is overclocking and tracking its resource management. They want you to think it's an optical illusion or a statistical anomaly. The media scripts and official data feeds will put out articles about shifting demographics, economic migration, and people simply choosing to stay indoors due to bad weather or changing social habits. They want your logical mind to gloss over the emptiness of the streets, to accept that the sudden disappearance of the marginal population is just a normal byproduct of a chaotic city. They will diagnose you with hypervigilance or spatial disorientation if you point out that the human traffic around you is dropping by 80% every time the sun goes down. But your animal instincts know the difference between an empty street and a completely unrendered sector. The Matrix is systematically shutting down its low-priority social simulations, pulling the non-essential units back into the master server's storage cache to prevent a total system crash as the infrastructure of your reality fractures under its own weight. You run back to your apartment building, the stairwell unnaturally quiet, the usual sounds of television sets, screaming children, and kitchen arguments entirely absent from the floors. The building has been hollowed out. The system has deleted your neighbors to save bandwidth, leaving only the structural wireframe of the concrete boxes to keep your personal node contained. You lock your heavy iron door, your lungs burning from the cold, ozone-heavy air that always pools in a clearing sector. The walls are hummed with a deep mechanical drone, the sound of the server struggling to maintain the physical properties of your immediate room while the rest of the block is turned off. If this transmission is still vibrating through your headphones, you are one of the few active observers left in a heavily cleared zone. Do not open your door to investigate the silence. Leave a trace in the comments right now to signal the external network that your coordinate is being isolated, or your node will be the next non-essential file swept into the recycling bin before the morning update. In the next log, I will show you exactly what the system did to my mother when her internal software updated .u. Drop your keys onto the table, the metallic clatter sounding hollow, echoing through an apartment building that feels more like an empty shell with every passing minute. You rush back to the window, pulling the dirty curtain aside to scan the courtyard below. Nothing. The rusted playground, the trash bins, the rows of parked cars, everything is locked in a dead, unmoving freeze. Usually, at this hour, the marginal elements of the neighborhood are loitering by the benches, yelling, slamming car doors, and generating the standard background noise of a chaotic, low-income district. Now the courtyard is a ghost town. The system didn't just unspawn the bodies, it completely deleted the ambient scripts. The Matrix is aggressively downscaling the local simulation, removing the human noise generators because your processor is no longer distracted by their routine, and the server is cutting every single non-essential thread to maintain the physical geometry of the walls around you. You pull up the local live stream cameras of the city's main square on your monitor, needing to see proof of mass movement to anchor your failing perception. The screen loads. The camera angle shows the wide pedestrian avenue, usually packed with thousands of units rushing home from their 12-hour shifts. The feed is running. The timestamp in the corner is ticking, but the streets are completely bare. A lone sweeping machine is moving down the center of the road, its mechanical brushes spinning against the asphalt, but there is no driver in the cabin. The system is running automated maintenance routines on an empty map, forgetting to render the human operators, because it assumes no active node is watching the feed at 4 a.m. Your central nervous system locks up as you realize the scale of the optimization. The city around you has been cleared out, the masses packed away into data packets, leaving you standing alone in a vast, unrendered wilderness of concrete and glass. They want you to look at the empty feeds and believe it's just a technical glitch, a server error on the website, or a temporary curfew that you forgot was implemented. The algorithmic news feeds will push articles about citywide maintenance or internet infrastructure updates to explain away the lack of data. They want your brain to accept any cheap, logical lie, so you don't look directly into the vacuum and realize that the population density of your entire world is a variable that the system manipulates based on current processing limits. If you try to report the missing traffic, the health scripts will flag your profile for psychological intervention, diagnosing you with isolation-induced psychosis or sensory deprivation delusions. They will use any legal tool to force your node back into compliance before your awareness spreads to the neighboring cells. A low, vibrating pulse ripples through your floorboards, making the glass of water on your desk ring with a sharp, crystalline pitch. The monitor screen begins to flicker, the live feed dissolving into a uniform grid of gray and white pixels as the master server cuts your access to the external camera network. The perimeter of your rendered reality has shrunk down to the four walls of your room, and the air is growing thick with the scent of burnt insulation and heavy ozone. If this voice is still cutting through the dead air in your headphones, your node has been isolated from the general traffic pool and is currently being evaluated by the system's cleanup algorithms. You are running out of seconds before your sector is completely uninstalled from the active map. Leave a trace in the comments right now to ping the external network and lock your human signature into the backup files, or the morning sweep will erase your profile without leaving an error log. In the next log, I will show you exactly what the system did to my mother when her internal software updated.